The ship's lights flickered faintly, casting long shadows across the cold metal floor. Commander Alex Harris had been patrolling the vessel for hours, the hum of the engines the only sound that kept him company. It was quiet, too quiet, and that made every creak and hiss echo in his mind like a warning. He had grown used to the isolation of space missions, but tonight felt different. There was a strange tension in the air, a sense that he was not alone, though all sensors showed the ship was empty. Alex had always trusted his instincts. He leaned against the railing of the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Space stretched endlessly, a black canvas sprinkled with white lights, and the emptiness pressed against him like a living thing. He shook off the feeling and focused on the task at hand. The ship had been hit by an unknown energy pulse during their last mission, and ever since, strange occurrences had plagued the crew. Tools vanished, corridors seemed longer than before, and sometimes, just for a moment, Alex thought he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. He had learned to ignore it, to tell himself it was fatigue or stress, but tonight, fatigue didn't explain the cold brush of air on his neck, or the sense that someone was watching him. Then, he saw her. At first, she appeared as a shadow, moving silently across the far end of the room. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He blinked and rubbed his eyes, convinced it was a trick of the light. But when he looked again, she was there, a figure tall and graceful, moving as if she floated above the floor. Her presence was commanding, but there was no fear, no aggression, only calm, and something else he couldn't name. "Who's there?" Alex called, his voice steadier than he felt. The figure paused, and Alex caught the glint of eyes that were too sharp, too knowing to belong to any human. She tilted her head slightly as if studying him, and then began to walk toward him. Her steps made no sound, and with every movement Alex felt an odd pull, like gravity had shifted, drawing him closer to her. He took a cautious step back, but the figure continued without haste. There was no threat, yet his muscles tensed as though preparing for something inevitable. She stopped just a few feet away, and Alex noticed the subtle rhythm of her breathing. It was unlike anything he had known, deliberate, controlled, almost musical. And then she smiled. It was a simple smile, but it carried weight, history, and unspoken understanding. Alex felt a strange warmth spread through him. For a moment, the fear and suspicion melted away, replaced by curiosity and a deep sense of recognition, as though he had known her for a lifetime, though he was certain he hadn't. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she extended her hand, and Alex felt an irresistible urge to reach out. Hesitating only for a moment, he took her hand. The contact sent a shiver through him, not unpleasant, but intense enough that he stumbled slightly backward. I don't understand," he said, shaking his head. "Are you part of the crew? Some kind of alien?" The figure didn't speak. Her eyes, bright and knowing, locked onto his, and Alex realized she was communicating without words. Every thought, every doubt, every memory he had flickered through his mind as if she were reading them. It was disorienting, but not painful. In fact, there was a strange comfort in it, a connection he couldn't explain. Alex's training screamed at him to be cautious, to draw his weapon, to create distance, but something inside him urged patience, understanding, and trust. He lowered his arm, trying to reconcile the two instincts warring inside him. I don't know what you want," he admitted. Her smile widened slightly, and she tilted her head again. Then, with a motion that was almost ceremonial, she gestured for him to follow. It wasn't a demand or a command, it was an invitation, and though Alex didn't know why, he felt compelled to accept. They moved through the corridors together, her presence guiding him. Every step he took seemed to harmonize with hers, and the unease he had felt earlier began to fade. The ship's lights, once flickering, now illuminated their path steadily, as if responding to her presence. Finally, they reached a large observation chamber at the center of the ship. The walls were lined with strange panels, glowing with alien symbols that Alex couldn't decipher. Yet the symbols seemed to pulse gently in rhythm with her breathing. She turned to face him fully, her eyes meeting his once more. Alex noticed details he hadn't before. The way her movements were precise yet fluid, the faint shimmer of her skin under the artificial lights, and the subtle hum that seemed to emanate from her very being. She wasn't human, that much was clear, but she also wasn't hostile. She was something else entirely, something advanced, intelligent, and alive in a way that defied his understanding. "You came to me?" Alex finally said. She smiled again. Then she raised her hand, not in threat, but in a gesture of explanation. Symbols appeared in the air before them, luminous and flowing, forming shapes that Alex instinctively understood. Knowledge, emotion, and memory intertwined in a language beyond words. Images of distant worlds, star systems he had never seen, and civilizations lost to time filled his mind. He felt the weight of centuries of observation, of understanding, of watching from the shadows, and through it all he sensed a question. "Will you trust us?" Alex's chest tightened. He had faced enemies, disasters, and isolation before, but nothing had prepared him for this. The feeling of being understood, of being seen in every way and yet not judged. He swallowed hard, fighting the instinct to flee. I think I can," he whispered. The figure tilted her head, a gesture of acknowledgement. Then in silence she turned and walked to the center of the room. Alex followed, unsure of why, but unable to stop himself. In the middle of the chamber, a platform rose slowly from the floor, bathed in a soft blue light. As they stepped onto it, Alex felt a gentle vibration beneath his feet. The platform's glow reflected in her eyes, making them shine even brighter. He realized this wasn't just a ship. It was a vessel of knowledge, a bridge to something greater than himself. "Why me?" he asked, voice trembling. The figure didn't answer with words, but her presence seemed to radiate a single thought. "Because you are human. And humanity still has hope." Alex felt the weight of that statement. Humans were fragile, unpredictable, and often reckless. Yet somehow in the vast expanse of the universe they had something other species lacked: resilience, creativity, and the capacity for hope. And this being, whoever or whatever she was, had recognized that. The platform began to rise slowly, lifting them above the floor. Alex looked down and realized the chamber stretched far below, filled with intricate machinery and glowing conduits. The scale was overwhelming, yet there was harmony in the complexity. "Where are we going?" he asked, gripping the railing instinctively. Her smile deepened, as if she were about to show him something beyond comprehension. Then, in a movement too quick to follow, she extended her hand once more. Alex took it, and the world shifted. Suddenly the chamber dissolved around them, replaced by a panorama of stars, nebulae, and planets swirling in a cosmic dance. Alex's breath caught in his throat. He had seen the universe from observation decks, from screens, but never like this. It was alive, vibrant, and infinite. He began, searching for words that didn't exist. She simply smiled, and Alex understood that words weren't necessary. The connection they shared transcended language, judgment, and fear. For the first time in his life, he felt truly small, and yet profoundly significant. The platform leveled, and in the distance, he could see a structure floating among the stars, an ancient ship, alien and magnificent. And as they approached, Alex felt a thrill of anticipation, of curiosity, and of hope. Whatever lay ahead, he realized, would change humanity's place in the universe forever. And somehow he knew that she, the being who had silently crossed the room, looked into his eyes and smiled, was the key to it all. The alien ship hovered silently among the stars, its enormous structure shimmering with a soft, ethereal glow. Alex's feet left the platform and he stepped onto solid metal, a sense of awe gripping him. He had never seen architecture like this. Curved walls that seemed to flow like water, corridors lined with lights that pulsed gently like the beat of a heart. The air hummed with energy, but it was not threatening. It felt alive, as if the ship itself was conscious. The being who had guided him smiled and gestured for him to follow. Alex obeyed, each step echoing in the vast silent space. He wanted to speak, to ask questions, but words felt inadequate. Every glance at her told him she understood, that she already knew what he wanted to say. They reached a chamber larger than any hall Alex had ever entered. At its center, a glowing orb floated, suspended in midair. It radiated warmth and light, but also knowledge, an intelligence that Alex could almost feel pressing against his mind. His instincts told him to be careful, to analyze everything, but curiosity overcame caution. "This is incredible," he murmured, unable to tear his eyes away. The alien being nodded slightly, then she raised her hand and the orb responded. Streams of light shot from it, forming shapes that Alex recognized instantly. Stars, planets, galaxies. He could see civilizations rising and falling, technology advancing and decaying, life blooming in countless forms. Yet in all this there was one constant: the subtle presence of humans across the cosmos, small yet persistent, struggling and thriving in ways that made the universe take notice. Alex felt a thrill he could hardly describe. Humans, in their fragility, had left a mark on the universe. Somehow this being had seen it, understood it, and invited him to witness it. You see, she communicated not with words, but with thoughts that flowed directly into his mind. Humans are rare, not for strength, not for speed, not for durability, but for something deeper. You adapt, you create, you endure, and hope. Hope is something no machine or alien race can replicate fully. Alex's chest tightened. He had always believed in humanity, but to hear it affirmed by an alien intelligence, to have it seen as something extraordinary, filled him with pride and humility at the same time. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, finally finding his voice. The being's eyes glimmered. She extended her hand toward the orb, and the light shifted. A path appeared, not just in the chamber but in his mind. A sequence of possibilities, a map of potential futures. Humans were on the edge of something great, something that could change the balance of life across galaxies. But they needed guidance, understanding, and choices that only someone like him could make. Alex stepped closer. "Me?" he asked, incredulous. "I'm just one man. How can I matter?" Her smile was patient, almost tender. Thoughts flowed into his mind, showing him moments of human history. Battles won against impossible odds, discoveries that changed the course of civilization, acts of kindness and courage that echoed across time, and in each moment a human had made the difference, simply by choosing to act, to think, to care. "You matter because you exist," she conveyed. "Because you are human, and the universe, vast as it is, recognizes that potential." Alex swallowed hard, feeling the enormity of her words. For centuries, humans had looked to the stars and wondered if they were alone, if they were special. Now here he was, standing on an alien ship, being told that humanity was indeed remarkable, that their curiosity, courage, and hope had not gone unnoticed. The orb pulsed, and Alex felt a sudden shift. Streams of light wrapped around him, flowing over his hands and face, not harming him but enhancing his perception. He could see energy patterns, the movement of cosmic forces, and even the faint threads of life-connecting worlds. The universe, in all its complexity, was laid bare before him, and yet despite all this knowledge he felt grounded, human in every sense, aware of his fragility but confident in his ability to act. "You will help us," the being communicated. "Not as a soldier, not as a ruler, but as a witness and guide. Humanity must rise, but it must also learn. You will show them the way." Alex nodded, determination replacing fear. He understood now that this was not a mission of conquest or war, but of enlightenment and guidance. Humanity had been given a chance, and he was chosen to play a part in its future. The being gestured again, and the orb split into countless streams, each one carrying information to distant human outposts, revealing knowledge, technology, and understanding far beyond what Earth could currently grasp. Alex realized that the universe itself had become a teacher, and humans, once ignorant of their potential, were now being offered a glimpse of what they could achieve. For hours, Alex and the being moved through the ship, exploring chambers filled with alien tools, libraries of light, and maps of countless star systems. He learned to read the language of energy, to sense the flow of life, and to understand the connections between civilizations. Each revelation strengthened his belief in humanity, in their ability to rise above challenges, and in the importance of hope and ingenuity. Finally, they reached a chamber at the very tip of the ship. A single window looked out into the void, showing the Earth far in the distance, a fragile blue dot suspended in darkness. Alex's heart ached at the sight. For all its beauty and life, it was still small, vulnerable, and unprepared for the wonders and dangers that awaited beyond its atmosphere. "You must return," the being communicated softly. "You will carry this knowledge, and you will inspire others. Humans must take the next step on their own. We can guide, but you must lead." Alex hesitated, feeling a mixture of awe and reluctance. He had glimpsed the universe in ways no human had before. He had seen potential, beauty, and connection. To return would mean leaving this place, leaving her and facing the challenges of humanity armed only with knowledge and hope. But he understood. Humanity's greatness was not in alien ships or advanced beings, it was in themselves. They would rise because they could, because they must, because hope and courage were in their very nature. He looked at her one last time. "Thank you," he said. Her smile returned, gentle and knowing. It was a smile that carried encouragement, pride, and trust. Then she stepped back, and Alex felt himself lifted as if the ship itself was sending him home. The stars blurred around him, and he found himself back on his own ship's observation deck. The familiar hum of engines filled the air, and the lights flickered normally. For a moment he wondered if it had been a dream, but then he noticed something on his wrist, a small glowing mark, faint but unmistakable. It pulsed with life, a reminder of the connection he had forged and the responsibility he now carried. Humanity had a chance, and he was the messenger, the witness, and the guide. Alex stood tall, determination burning in his chest. He would not let fear or doubt control him. He would share what he had learned, inspire his crew, and prepare humanity for the path ahead. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but humans had something no other species had: resilience, creativity, and the hope to endure. And for the first time in his life, Alex felt truly ready. The alien's smile, imprinted in his mind, reminded him that he was not alone. There were allies, guides, and watchers in the universe, and they believed in humanity. As the ship moved through the void, Alex looked out at the stars, seeing them not just as distant points of light, but as destinations, challenges, and opportunities. A new chapter had begun, and he knew that humanity would rise, not because it was easy, but because it was human, and somewhere, in the vast darkness of space, the alien being watched and waited, confident that humanity, under Alex's guidance, would meet its potential.